Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Vicki Howie of chakraboosters.com, the creator of Chakra Boosters Healing Tattoos.
And I'm Keisha Beelan, Vicki's assistant, and welcome to this episode of Chakra Talk!
For this episode, Keisha, what topic are we going to dive into?
We're diving into sacred guides.
Sacred guides?
Yes.
So does that mean we're going to go through the animal guide series?
We are. That's actually what we're diving into right now.
Yay, yay. That's so fun for me, you guys. A lot of you actually asked, what is the energy of this animal? And I want to point out that it's intuitive and there's no right or wrong here. I definitely have opinions because the chakras have very distinct personalities. Is that a good way to put it? Like very distinct character. And you have 7 different aspects of life represented in the rainbow of your energy field, and each one's quite different. And certain animals mix, but there's also certain places they don't fit. No. To put an elephant, I don't know, up in the third eye or something. Not so much. So because of that, it's a really fun discussion to talk about where these animals go and why would we talk about them. Like I got a lot of people, did you find people were like, well, why do you even use animals for healing?
Yes, which actually dives into my first question.
Oh.
Why a series on animals?
Oh, why a series altogether?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, this is the reason I felt compelled was I thought to myself, when I'm doing my chakra healing work, I feel young, I feel curious, I feel like a little kid. And you have some young ones, so you know how much they love animals.
Yes.
Don't they like kids go nuts over animals. Hopefully we can do better than just the zoo, because that's not the best place for the animals. They're not always the happiest in the zoo. That's like jail for animals. But kids love animals. Yes. They love them, and whether it's cat and dog or exotic animals, and I think that's because they so understand how close we are with them, because we're a mammal, we're an animal. Right. We're a spirit, but we're also an animal. As you know, we like to talk about embodiment here and body stuff. So I found that one really quick way to get into the healing energy, because as you guys know, in most of my videos, if I'm working with a particular chakra, I will act out that chakra. I will carry that energy. I'll do a sacral video more sacrally. Right? I'll do a root video as root as I can, which is my biggest strength. And so on. Solar, I'll be very high in the solar video. Well, the same thing happens with animals. If you need solar and you go and be a lion right away, or you just see a picture of a lion, you think about a lion, it's like, I'm already changing my body.
Embrace it, right?
Exactly. So it's like a lion can be your gateway into immediate courage, immediate action, immediate pride. Immediate, just having confidence in yourself, right? So that's why I did it. I just thought, wow, and they make me smile. Animals make me smile.
And how do you think utilizing the series on animals, how do you think that heals the chakras?
Well, like I said, I think the energy, just the energy itself, like what I said, that's me. Some people, if you're watching this, and if you're making healing you're mystifying it, making it too like, oh, we need to do mantras, we need to do that. That's kind of not my way here at Chakra Boosters. My way is whatever puts us in that energy field. And animals, we connect with them supernaturally. So really, guys, all you need to do is, let's say for a week you wanted more solar plexus, you wanted more courage. You could literally focus on a lion for a week, or some cat, a jaguar, whichever one you really related to. You could have pictures, you could have songs or sounds or videos on YouTube of seeing them in nature. You could wear a pendant with one of them. There's so many different things you could do, but just having that cat energy around you literally heals you. There's nothing particularly, it doesn't seem almost like sacred work, but it is. It really is. Yeah.
And is an animal that I see often, is that my spirit guide?
That's a great question. So, yes, not necessarily your guide, but yes, an animal medicine message for you at that time.
Sort of like a tool
to use at that time. Now, if it goes throughout your life and it just keeps repeating, it's very likely that is your spirit guide or one of your key spirit guides. I honestly believe it's nice to have an animal for each chakra.
Okay, so that means I can have more than one.
Yes, like I like a totem of 7. And I'm actually working on a meditation, like a totem meditation where I can walk people through discovering the animal in each chakra.
So cool.
Yeah, and then you can even take pictures of them and put a totem, create a totem. And then you get that feeling of all your chakras. And you have all these animals that represent it for you, and you relate to these animals, and so you can jump into that energy right away. But if you see them, there's a deck of cards that I really like, you guys. They're oracle cards called, I think, Animal Medicine or Animal Medicine Spirit. I'll put a link below, or at least tell you the name of it below so you can go find it. I'm not an affiliate, I'm not related to it, but I just love the cards. They're Native American animal medicine cards. And what they basically say is anytime that an animal passes before you in your path, like the more obvious the passing or the more exotic the animal, unlikely the passing is, the more you need to take note of it.
So that is the medicine.
It's the message for that day, for that moment. And you can go look it up online right away, or you can come to my videos and say, well, what does that mean chakra-wise? But I always do that. See something odd, like javelinas are not too uncommon in Sedona, but like I saw like 5 of them, and they're just rooting in the ground and doing all this stuff. So you go and look it up. You know, you go, what does that javelina mean that crossed my path or whatever? So you can look it up, and there's slightly different meanings, and usually the one that applies to you will intuitively be clear at that time. Yeah.
All right. And if you haven't already, you can go, we'll put the link below of the series Best Spirit Animals for Healing Each Chakra. So that'll be down below the video.
My series,
yes, Vicki series. And check it out, guys. All 7 videos, there's great. And give us some more questions. We can always continue this series on Chakra Talk because there's always so much to explore, right?
Right, there's always more animals.
Yeah,
there's so many curious, animals. You have a favorite animal you want to know, and it's just stumping you as to what chakra. Ask us.
Yes.
And I'll let you know. And I can answer also, you guys, I will answer stuff on the YouTube channel too.
Yes. And speaking of questions, we have a few that I did pull that just so we can get more specific. So one from Kathy Pickle. She would like to know.
I love her name, Kathy Pickle.
Kathy Pickle.
So cute. Hi, Kathy Pickle.
Hi, Kathy. So in regard to your question, you would like to know squid or octopus. Is that root?
Is squid or octopus root? I would be so curious, Kathy, as to what part of them that you think is root, because maybe I'm overlooking something, but what I go to right away is water animals. Your first suspicion with water animals is
sacral.
Sacral, because the sacral is the water element, right? Like Keisha's wearing the orange sacral today, so she's right on with the divine feminine energy there. So the sacral, I always think the sacral, I think the mermaid, right? Because it's the divine feminine and underwater. Right. So then you think, is it rigid or super flexible? Rigid's more root, super flexible, super S curvy is sacral. Like I think sacral S. Yeah, S curves. So do our octopi, I believe it's octopi plural, are octopi curvy or solid? Curvy. So right away for me, I think for both of us, actually, those would go very sacral. And if you're having dreams about them or you're seeing them a lot, that's an invitation. I'm going to go so far as to say that's an invitation to come more into your feminine, which is an invitation we all need on this planet right now because we've come into the divine feminine era, but women in particular, because it is our natal and hormonal makeup, we need it the most.
Yes.
And both Keisha and I have been talking about how we've been really feeling a call into our divine feminine.
Absolutely.
So go octopi. Octopi. I had, right before I became a certified hypnotherapist, I had a dream, you know, the sacral, the underwater is the unconscious. It represents the unconscious as well. And I had this dream, I remember, of this thick, black water eel. I'm getting a chill on my leg just talking about it right now. And it was going under the water like this, just under the surface. And just like Loch Ness Monster, it would just barely go over. You know, you'd see just this little hump, little bit of its hump, and then it went back under, just a little bit of its hump. And that really, I think, was an introduction for me into a big, going into my unconscious, doing more trance work, and also I think it was an introduction into embracing my own divine feminine more.
Absolutely.
That was probably about 10 or 11 years ago. Yeah.
Interesting. So moving on to the next one.
Thank
pretty
you, Kathy.
Similar. Marilyn B would like to know about snakes.
Snakes.
Are those root?
Are snakes root? We're just like, you guys, I want to say one thing. We're all root. I mean, and the body is represented by root. So the root is the manifestation chakra. It's the physical chakra. It's the chakra that represents this 3D world.
Right.
So being very animal-like or being low to the ground, which a snake is very root in a certain way. And I can really understand the question with the snake because we've represented, people talk about the Kundalini energy of the snake, and they show the snake moving up the caduceus for the medical field, and that's going through all the chakras, but it always starts in the root. And what they're really saying is that the snake is related to the life force there, right? Snakes multiply and they move, and we hopefully chakra energy moves. We want it to move from the base down, or if we happen to be really up here, not in our base, we want it to also anchor us down into the earth as well.
Right.
So I can understand that question, but my personal belief is, I'm going back again with what Keisha and I said about the octopi, same thing again. Yes, the snake now is no longer in the water, but the snake is so mutable, which is another quality of the sacral chakra, right? Mutability and the
ability to change.
It sheds its skin. The snake literally sheds its skin. And that's what the divine feminine does, what women do. We're the change agents. The sacral chakra is all about change, whereas the root chakra is all about stability. Stays the same, changes. Snakes definitely change. They literally are known for shedding their skin. So for that reason, yes, I agree. They have a life force, but we tend to put that life force as too much root. I don't think it is just root. A lot of the life force, the playful life force, is in the sacral. The working, robust life force, excuse me, is in the root.
Makes total sense. I think the one thing that probably
yeah.
Marilyn Beatty probably has the root in is survival, right? When you think about a snake and its ability to survive, it is the go out there and just that primal essence of a snake. So I can see the confusion.
But interesting also, I completely get it, especially because the Kundalini energy, really. It's been known for Kundalini, so that's been known for root. But Kundalini, the snake in the caduceus, moves all the way up. So it's really the life force energy that can move and change through all the chakras. But the survival thing, I just want to say, guys, I'm not a huge fan of using survival for root, and particularly mutable survival. Because mutable, old survival of hit animal with rock, get food, take back to cave. That's very root. Can you feel that? That's very masculine. That's very, I must eat food, but the mutability of a snake, that's feminine survival. And it's not really survival, it's the joy of the dance, of the play, of the movement, of the, now you see me, now you don't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so these are, I just want us to understand the essence of all this. And I love that you brought that up, because so many people immediately, like the first thing you see with root is often survival. But I believe we're in a higher octane, yes. Are people still trying to survive? Yes. And we should be taking care of those people on this planet, because so many of us are not truly in that survival mode. Right. Our energy might be, because we inherited from our ancestors, and we tend to be nervous a lot in these urban areas. We're not connected to nature enough, but we're not really at risk. There's not a tiger chasing us. Our next meal is not at risk for most of us if you're watching this video. So I feel like I don't tie root as much to survival, but if I do, it's that old-fashioned just, let's band together in a tribe, let's go hunt, let's eat, but the mutable change of a snake to me is the feminine, and that is, you know what, I'm so glad you said that, because it's bringing in a good point. That is the survival of the future.
Wow.
That is the survival of, I got chills in both legs.
That
is the survival of now. The survival of now is, can you adapt? Can you feel both legs? Feel. Woo! Guys! That's the spirit guides right there. Do you guys want to know signs of spirit guides? Chills. For those of us who are more tantric, for me, it's in my legs. Where do you get it?
My arms.
She gets in her arms, because she's a little more rooted. I'm a little less rooted, so it comes to where I need it, right? So it's very funny how it works. But that's a huge sign. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to love that. Yeah. The survival of today is adaptability. It is the divine feminine now, to be able to change and grow and move with these constantly moving energies on the planet.
Super cool. Super cool outlook, right?
Yeah.
So on to our next, we have Natalie Cave wants to know about cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. Oh, our beloved cats and dogs. Okay, so cats, domesticated cats are not the same as our wild cats. Nevertheless, they come from that lineage, and I think they still carry predominantly a solar plexus energy, which is the cat energy. So cats and dogs are great, you guys, because they represent this interesting, you know how people always say, are you a cat person? Are you a cat person or a dog person?
Oh, I love both.
You do? Okay. I've gotten more both over the years, but I'd still have to say, I think because I have so much solar plexus energy, I'm more of a dog person. Yes, that contrast. I know they can teach me the love that I want to learn. But basically what's so cool about cats and dogs, when people say, are you a cat person or a dog person? They're saying, do you relate to an independent animal that cannot be trained as much by you and it has its own like screw you attitude? Or do you relate to an animal that's really loyal and loving and unconditionally accepting and wags its tail like crazy when you come home and makes you feel so loved all the time? So the dog represents heart chakra all the way. In our culture, the domesticated dog. The dog is heart because it's loyalty. It teaches. Dogs are an amazing teacher. More than so many human teachers out there of love, of unconditional true love, because they don't say you have to do this first. Like, granted, they appreciate when you feed them,
right?
But they just love you. You know, they don't care how your hair is.
They're happy you're home.
And even when you get a little upset because they do something that you think's wrong, bad, whatever, they kind of go, oh, you know, I still love you. So dogs represent the heart. Cats represent the solar plexus. These are the neighboring center chakras, and they're so key because in the embodied chakras, in 7, the heart's the middle. But in our embodied energy field, which is an important one that we walk around in every day, the nexus between the solar plexus and the heart is our key spot. So this very spot where we are working with self and our own independence and being cat-like, like, whatever, I don't want to eat that, or you don't get to pet me right now, or whatever. You know, like,
I'm on my
I don't
time.
feel like it. I'm on my time. That attitude. When you need more of that attitude, you relate more to the cat. When you need it extreme, like courage and go for it, you go to the lions and the wildcats, the jaguars, the leopards. You know, all of that. The lynx. There's so many wild cats. The bobcat, even. But when you want more of the I love you know, more of the heart opening, you go to the dogs. You go to these lovely dogs that you can even just think of dogs. And kittens are that way too, because anything fluffy and sweet that's at our heart. So cats start as heart chakra and they very quickly morph into solar plexus. And you cat lovers, don't diss us here. I mean, I love cats too. I really, really do. And it's funny, any attitude we have against a cat is an attitude that we might have against our own ego, our own independence. Because we do have a tendency in the spiritual world to say, oh, ego bad, and independence as selfishness, to actually take care of yourself bad. And it's not. Cats are a good example of how it works.
That is
they seem quite happy.
Yeah. Moving on to our 4th question, and we're going to go into some comments that I want to pick apart. Ruan, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm so sorry.
I say Ruan too.
Ruan wants to know about orcas. I know we had a discussion about
I know, we've talked about this a little bit already, because that's such a great question, Ruan. It really is. You got me thinking. You got Keisha thinking. Yes. We were like really into it. And I think I came up with a good one. Don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, the quality of the root is still, big, massive. Why mass in the root? Do you know why mass in the root?
Why mass in the root? I just think physical, 3D, it's the densest.
But why heaviest. More of it? Yeah, there you go. It's the densest and the heaviest, but even also because when we're in the crown, we have no mass. And when we come all the way down, and I think of the bottom of the ocean where the whales like to hang out, like as you go deeper and deeper and deeper down toward Earth and into Earth, you're talking about more and more mass. Till the mountain itself, the Earth itself is the mass. Get it?
Yeah.
So when you get down your deepest part of root, you have consciousness, but it's moving the most slowly, and there's actually the least amount of it there. That's why there's so much shadow down in root, and why we're afraid to go deep in our root, and where some of the biggest sins are down in the root, like the money or greed or those things, because there's less natural consciousness down there. There's less light. right? Okay. And up here, there's all consciousness and everything's light and airy and there's no mass, there's no matter. Almost. There's always a little on both ends, but almost. So the whale has that bigness. It also is deep, deep in the sea, the deep sea whales, and the orcas. So I think the orcas aren't as big. They're like the lighter whales, aren't they?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we're not whale experts, so Ruan, please let us just answer this question about whales, and then you adjust it according to orcas. And if you want to comment, let us know. But I'm just thinking in terms of whales, what I love is the whale to me is interesting because I believe the whale is root and crown. Because
can you guess why?
the whale actually comes up to the surface, right? And the crown represents all the chakras anyway. It comes up to the surface and the whale has that blowhole. When you think about it, that's what we're doing. When I put you guys through meditations to open your crown, we're blowing it open. Yeah, we're like going for it. So feel into that. Yeah. And at least for, I should say, for chakra healing, which is what we're really interested in when we're talking about utilizing the animal energy, this is a great animal for the full spectrum if you just like meditate on it being down in the water, because you're, first of all, root, right? Second of all, in the water, deep in the water, but we're in the water, right? So you have those two elements. Yeah. And then it takes the action, which is the third of coming up. And there's just something about like dolphins, whales, these deeper sea animals that you feel like they have all the upper chakras. They have the heart, and then they have all the like telepathic, all that. And then they come to the surface and blowhole, there's crown. You could literally meditate on a whale opening its blowhole and feel yours opening, and that's like opening your crown. That's awesome. The answer. Great question, Ruan.
Yes. Okay. I think we covered enough on the animal guides. Yeah. So let's dive into the guides of our higher self, or you have a great video on simple ways to communicate with your higher self. Mm-hmm. And I thought one of my greatest, I have a perfect example of how I did this. I thought it was so fun, flipping a coin in this video. So I thought it was a great way for me to get in touch with my own power after doing it. Mm-hmm. So I flipped a coin.
But just to be clear, since some people might not have seen that video, you guys might want to go watch Simple Ways to Communicate with Your Higher Self, because in that I kind of demystify, I make it less esoteric. I talk about my dictionary technique, which you have to do, which is a fun one. But the one that Keisha's talking about is the flip the coin technique. And it isn't what you think. Because Keisha, as they watch, you know they're thinking that you need a decision made, so you flip a coin. No.
And that was not it.
The coin has nothing to do with it. So you go ahead and explain.
So I flip a coin, right? I got a yes. And in my body, my core, I was like, no. So I flipped again, thinking like the universe is going to give me a no, right? So I can just go with that. No. The universe said yes. And I was like, no. I don't know how many times I did it, but it was clear in my body that the answer was no. So I thought it was really cool in the video that she gave us that example to really get in touch with your higher self, your power. So awesome.
And the reason I think that the universe actually was contradicting you rather than giving you what you want is because people like you and I, we need to work on boundaries more. And the whole point in the video is that I say it's not the answer that comes up. So of course Keisha goes and gets the answer she doesn't want like 3 times in a row. The point with flipping the coin is that it gets you in touch with your own intuition immediately, viscerally. You look at it, you ask an important question, it comes up, and the minute that answer comes up, you know what your real desire is. So this is a way of heightening and enlivening and unmasking your own desire.
Because that feeling is really the part that matters. It's not the answer that you're getting around. It's literally, how did I feel with the answer? I didn't resonate with the answer, so I knew that was not the answer.
And another thing I love about that is, you know what I hear in the spiritual community a lot is it wasn't meant to be. And I get the value of that, but I think we use it as a cop-out a lot of the time, where we go to it step 1. No. If you've tried something 10 times, if you've done like what Job does or something like that, and everything's poured down on you and stopped you, then you have the right to say that it wasn't meant to be. But I've seen people literally get a busy signal on something wasn't meant to be, and that's not good. No. So Keisha even was like, let me flip it 2 more times. And each time it said something the opposite to what your true higher self and deepest body was telling you. So this is a way that we get in touch with our intuition. works like gold, you guys, but go watch it on that video.
Try it
and
out.
if you watch the video, you also find out about the dictionary techniques, which
super
I love.
cool one. So I want to move right on into some questions and comments that I found in the comment section below this video. And let me see here.
Do you have any questions of your own around it first? Because I know sometimes you ask some general ones.
Should someone see their guides?
Oh, should someone see their guides? Okay, this is a really good question because, you know, when it comes to the upper chakras, we have the upper chakras are rarefied. The upper chakras are, and so we tend to put so many rules, you know, it's been sanctified. There's been power structures that have held us away from our direct relationship with God over the years, over the centuries. And it's been a patriarchal system and all that. So we tend to really have all these ideas of how something has to look. But the truth is, it can be very, very casual. And it doesn't have to look any particular way. It can be, particularly with higher guide information, if you are a visual person, you like to visualize, you will tend to probably visualize your guide. If you're not, you won't. It's going to fit with your natural way of being. I personally, when it comes to especially inner stuff, I'm not so visual. I almost feel like I'm seeing it, but when I really get into it, I'm not seeing it. I feel it. I'm kinesthetic, interestingly, right? I'm kinesthetic. I get an all-knowing. There's an all-knowing. So I get a kinesthetic in my body, and I get an all-knowing. I've had a lot of other people tell me they get this as well. Some people hear. You might hear things, literally hear them. Neil Donald Walsh wrote how many books on conversations with God from hearing? Just literally he heard the voice. You might see, many people see. It tends to be a more male quality, but for the inner vision, it can be masculine or feminine. So if you like to see, you'll see. If you like to hear, you'll hear. If you like to feel, if you're really kinesthetic, you'll tend to feel. Those of you who know NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, if you know what your predominant type is, that'll tend to be reflected in this. If you're mostly an auditory person, you're mostly, and there's, I think, tests online where you can go find out, am I predominantly auditory or visual? Me, I'm always like all of them because of the chakras. I usually, like a pie, I split up in even 3, you know, audio, visual, kinesthetic, so.
Super cool.
Yeah, so any which way it comes, be open, be open, be open. The main thing I want to say is don't like put it in a box that it has to look this way. When you do that, and when you do that, you're missing so many messages from your own higher self, because your higher self wants to talk in your language, do it in your way, through your body. And when you've got all this like hoity-toity, it's got to look like this, it's got to be like what some other teacher told me or whatever.
You're totally going to miss what your guides are
gonna miss it
giving
completely. You could literally, it's like an animal passing across your path.
You're like looking up.
That. You don't notice, you don't look up the animal, right?
That makes so much sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I got one really, really good question from Sky Surfer 777.
I love that
which
name.
Goes great with your question.
Sky Surfer 777.
Repeating symbols. Is that from the guides?
Repeating symbols from the guides. Okay, so I believe that repetition is definitely another personal language of the universe to us. So whether it's symbols, I want to broaden this out a little bit. Like, have you ever had somebody recommend a book and then somebody else in that same week and then somebody else, or they'll recommend a teacher. Any kind of repetition is a guide that, because in the field where we get the higher self information, we are all one. So down here, there's a reality in root chakra that we are separate. We still share the energy, but we are so in the physical realm that we are actually separate, and we get to enjoy each other's differences. But up here, we're all one. So when we're up in this realm with the higher self, anyone who comes to us is a part of us. So people are literally being voices for us. So you need to notice when you see repetition. If you see it in a billboard, if you see it in a symbol, if you see it in an animal, if you see it in 3 different people give you the exact same suggestion to go to a workshop, to see a teacher, to read a book, you know what I'm talking about. And if you see numbers, any number could mean anything depending what it means to you. But 1111, of course, is the era of the divine feminine. So we're all kind of seeing 1111 together, and that usually means you're in flow, you're in
right
sync,
where you need to be.
You're right where you need to be, and you are here for this divine feminine era. You're like on point, on time, right here. So that's a fun one to see, and other people are seeing it with you. But don't miss the personal ones that are just yours as well. Does that answer that question pretty well?
I think it answers it pretty well.
Okay. And again, I don't make a huge distinction between higher self and guides. I really don't, because I guess maybe because my modalities aren't visual or audio. So I'm not hearing a different voice or seeing something different. It's just all going into my body kinesthetically. Mm-hmm. So my own higher self speaks to me pretty much like my guides do. So I tend to use a word of my guides, treating my own higher self as also a guide.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think that concludes our Chakra Talk.
Yay! Chakra Talk number 1 together. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
So much fun for my first time.
Yeah, thank you, Keisha, for doing this. And be sure to get more and more involved in the comment section of YouTube. You can also send them to me via email, but everyone gets to enjoy them more. And we're getting bigger on the YouTube channel, you guys, so I can't answer all the questions anymore. I can't even keep up with them anymore now. There's 3.
You can even send them directly to me.
Okay, to Keisha.
Keisha, CYSHIA at chakraboosters.com.
Yeah, CYSHIA at chakraboosters.com. So you could send them to Keisha, or you can send them to Vicki at Chakra Boosters. Well, I'll probably just send them to her. So.
Yes. I'll get them.
So send them to Keisha. And I just want you guys to know there's over 320 videos now. So I try real hard to at least read your comments and read your questions. I can't always answer them, but if you ask a good question, it'll probably show up on Chakra Talk. So please keep asking good questions, and let's keep growing as a tribe, informing each other, motivating each other, inspiring each other.
And loving each other.
Yeah. So we'll see you on the next video. But until then, keep your mind open, your heart full, and your feet firmly on the ground. Bye.